I'm Sam Roberts of the New York Times. Welcome to the New York Times Close Up. There are 400,000 tenants living in the city's public housing. Problems of the sites are nothing new, but they've been under increased scrutiny recently as Mayor de Blasio has made building affordable and safe housing a hallmark of his administration. In a moment, the chairwoman of the New York City Housing Authority, Shola Olatoye, she'll join us with Mia Navarro, who covers public housing for the New York Times. After that, we'll turn to a family of heroes of the French resistance in Nazi-occupied Paris, the subject of a book by my former Times colleague, Charles Kaiser, The Cost of Courage. Times editor Jan Benzel has the happy assignment of overseeing the Summer Love series in the Times. We'll talk with her about the submissions, the choices, the couples we meet this week. From love to New Yorkers who love to hit at the gym, this from NYTimes.com and the Style section. And the New York Times Reporters Roundtable convenes. But first, the New York City Housing Authority, it faces a $2.5 billion cumulative projected operating deficit over the next 10 years, nearly $17 billion in unmet capital needs, and gets more than 9,000, close to 10,000 new work orders for repairs every day. Now, you announced a new Fix It Forward program recently to catch up with those repairs, but how can you possibly keep pace?
First of all, thank you for inviting me on the show, Sam. You know, one of the hallmarks of this administration has been the de Blasio's administration's effort to really bring public housing into the conversation and really own what is, as you mentioned, the city's largest landlord. We announced in May our 10-year strategic plan, Next Generation NYCHA, of which Fix It Forward is an initiative. We have to get a handle on our long-term finances. We have to operate as a better landlord, our core business. We have to look at our real estate. And more importantly, we have to engage with our residents and deliver services to our residents in a new way. Fix It Forward is a piece of the becoming a better landlord, which is how do we remove some of the layers that have built up over the years and actually get the job done. When do we show up at apartments and not only fix what we're there to fix, but fix the small things that residents now have to call in 2, 3, 4 times to the call center and get a work order. If you're there and you can replace the battery, let's do it. You know, residents are ultimately want to see change, and they want to see their repairs done in a timely way. They have every right to expect that. We have huge financial challenges, as you mentioned. We've lost more than $3 billion in funding, federal, operating, and capital since 2001. So these are problems that we didn't get to overnight, and they're going to require a series of tough choices, which we believe our plan does, as well as money, a lot of it, and leadership.
You're not getting money from the state as much as you used to, for sure, and you point out that you're only getting 74% of the rent that you are owed, but you don't kick people out for non-payment of rent. So how do you persuade them to pay?
You know, first of all, we're in the business of housing people. That's what that's what our mission is, and that's what we need to do and need to focus on. There's a lot that we can do to improve the way that we collect our rent. One of them is actually making it easier for residents to pay multiple times during the month. We're sending out reminders when people actually pay their rent. We did a historical analysis of when people send in payments. Why not adjust the payment date when people actually are paying? Making it available to be paid online, automatic deductions, all of those things that ultimately help people pay their rent so that we can have the resources to deal with the major challenges of fixing folks' repairs. Look, you know, we are encouraged that the state has rediscovered public housing. They have not funded us since 1998. We welcomed the $100 million put in this year's capital budget. We hope that the governor and the state take a page from the city and invest in actual capital investments that we know have a real impact on people's lives. Our data suggests when you replace a roof, you see a 60% decrease in work orders related to paint, tile, and mold. So, you know, benches and toasters are nice, and those are great things, but we can't afford it. We need to actually improve what's happening in people's apartments.
Mia, do the 400,000 people in public housing believe that this time things are going to be different?
Well, I think there's a wait and see, attitude, but I think the repair issue is critical because, frankly, some people don't pay rent because they don't feel that they're getting the services. I don't know how big of a group that is, but certainly there's that sentiment. And also the other issue is that this dissatisfaction is at a time that the agency is also proposing a transformation of public housing in many ways, including bringing in developers to build market rate units within housing projects. And I wonder, Chairwoman, how are you going to get residents to buy into the idea, right, of development on NYCHA land while they're still waiting for the repairs?
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we've already started, and NYCHA has participated in previous housing plans. So this isn't the first time that we are building affordable housing within our campuses. But my goal here is to over communicate and to really explain to people the real dire financial circumstances that the Housing Authority finds ourselves, and to say that Next Generation NYCHA isn't simply about building buildings. There are 15 specific strategies there that all help not only address the authority's financial challenges, so that we can ultimately improve what's happening in people's lives and what's happening in apartments. I don't think that I'm going to convince everyone, but I do think when you begin to peel away the nostalgia and the hysteria, and you talk about, here's a real plan to address not just the repairs, but to actually solve the solution, which is roofs, new pointed buildings, new infrastructure, boilers, et cetera. That's what people want to hear, and they want to hear a plan, and they want to see results.
And people can debate how much of that should be affordable housing and how we define affordable housing, but the goal is to use that land and to gain revenue to support the rest of the public housing.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, the chairwoman of the New York City Housing Authority, Shola Ola-Toye, and Mia Navarro, my colleague at the New York Times. When I return, my former Times colleague, Charles Kaiser, on the cost of courage.